Hayley got the chopsticks and the bowl and was like eating, and she ate a significant amount of maggots. I think went outside and was sick, but she was like, and she was there. She was entertaining the crowd, like a couple of hundred young people. She was loving it, and all these maggots, she was eating all these maggots.
Hello and welcome to the How I Failed in Business podcast. In this show, we want to share with you all the trials, the tribulations, the mistakes, the mishaps that every business owner, entrepreneur, and professional goes through. We want to learn from everyone else's mistakes. I'm your host, Rob Spence, the Managing Director of Paragon Sales Solutions. And today's guest is a VIP, a person I've known Matt here for probably 80 years. Can I please introduce to you Matt Brown of the Grace Foundation. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I think it's probably nearer 100.
100 years. 100 years. Yeah, so I always try and wipe those first 20 years out of my memory, to be honest. But no, thank you for joining us today. You clearly know where we are. You're a local lad to here normally, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Recently moved out of the Thorpe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still feel like this is still home.
Still quite close by. But you're a guest I've been wanting to speak to on the show for a while. But just for everyone's involvement and to introduce yourself, tell us about you, tell us about your role, and tell us about the Grace Foundation.
Great. So my name is Matt. I am training and development specialist at the Grace Foundation. And basically our whole mission is to transform the lives of young people through holistic education. That is what drives us. That is what we're passionate about. We want to see young people's lives transformed through our education system. And the way we do that is we put ethos teams into local schools. So an ethos team is an ethos leader, a youth worker, and a family support worker. And we work alongside the school in partnership with the school to help develop students' character and values, to build healthy relationships, and to understand Christian perspectives. And there are kind of our three main themes that we're looking to do. We have 12 partner schools, mainly in the West Midlands and across Northamptonshire and Milton Keynes. But as you rightly said, Rob, I'm a Leicester lad. I'm passionate about Leicester. And so I've just been given the opportunity to think about how we can take what we already do in the West Midlands and across Milton Keynes and do it in Leicester. And so that's what I'm currently doing. It's exciting. It's an exciting time. We've identified a multi-academy trust to work with. We've identified a school to work with, and now we're just in the process of raising that all-important finance so we can make it happen.
Amazing. So that sounds really well rehearsed. It sounds like you've said that once or twice.
Off the cuff.
Off the cuff. You only had the job today, didn't you? But no, that all sounds exciting, and we'll make sure at the end of the video we'll leave you contact details, because I'm sure there's many viewers out there that has been inspired by what you said and want to help out. So
right, we'd love to hear from anyone who's interested.
And look, very generous people out there, I'm sure they will. But obviously you've had an illustrious, career. You've been around for a long time. After the coal mines, tell us what your career was thereafter. Tell us a little bit. How did you get to the role you're in now then?
Okay, so I always imagined, I went to catering college at 16, and my dream was to own my own restaurant. That was what I wanted.
Honestly, I've known you for so long. I didn't even know that. Wow.
That was my dream. But I went and did a gap year working with young people just north of King's Cross in London. And that was it. I was hooked. And I kind of thought from that moment on, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to impact the lives of young people. And so my wife and I worked in London for a few years with like some really like challenging estate young people. It was the most amazing 3 years. Came back up to Leicester because that's home for both of us, and wanted to keep doing some of the same stuff. So we worked for a number of different organisations, and in 2006 set up our own charity called Reality Youth Project, which is still going, and we worked with 25 members of staff across multiple communities and churches and schools. And we did lots of brilliant fundraising for us, including falling off your bike and breaking your collarbone.
I mean, just to make clear for the audience, the challenge wasn't to fall off.
No,
and get in.
That wasn't the idea.
You were supposed to stay on the bike and reach the final destination.
You did reach the final destination, but with a broken collarbone.
I think it was Basildon, wasn't it? Basildon Hospital, I think, ended up in.
I think it was. But we bought you home.
But how much money did that extra...
A lot.
As soon as I came off, donations went up.
Yeah, they doubled pretty much.
Yeah.
So we worked kind of across the communities of Leicestershire, and And although that work's come to an end, that face-to-face stuff, I still do quite a lot of consultancy and training for reality. But like I say, most of my job is based with Grace Foundation, working in these partner schools. And I think kind of when you look at both the organisations, we're both about transformation. That's what we're both keen on. So I've always been in youth work from the age of kind of 18. My aim is to be the oldest youth worker in the business. Because although
so you're about there then.
Yeah, almost there. And although I don't do a lot of face-to-face stuff now, it's more about equipping, enabling, empowering other people, because there are so many more people who are younger than me, cooler than me, better than me. So my job is to train, equip, and empower them to transform a generation.
Absolutely. It's been great from my side, and I don't want to blow smoke. It's been great to see from my side you continue that mission for so long, you know, for you, the viewer. Maybe this is probably another podcast we could talk hours about. You know, we met when I was, 11 or 12, potentially. Very young. You know, you said earlier when you were young and chubby, I think is the words that you said earlier.
Something like that.
Words to those effects, you know, and you had a massive impact on my life, and it's great to see you continue that and sort of feed that into the next youth worker of the next generation, I guess. So you've had a great career, done some incredible things, but I want to talk about some of the mistakes, the mishaps, and the failings that you've had, Matt, because I don't know about you, but everywhere we look on social media, there's everything on socials and in the PR world, it's I'm this, I'm that, I'm so amazing, this has happened, which is fantastic, it's great. But every entrepreneur, every business owner, every leader of any variety has had some failings, some errors, and that's what this podcast is all about. So Matt, you've told me before you've got some great stories to share. So hit us with it. Have you ever failed in business?
Absolutely not. Never. No. So
I was about to say,
cut.
End it now.
And so there are so many things I could tell you. Lots of kind of boring things about sending emails to the wrong person, copying the wrong person in. I remember when emails weren't even a thing. Like that's how long I've been around. But they're all kind of a little bit boring for me. So, and for me, and I feel like, you know, Simon Mayo's Confessions.
Yes.
Remember cultural reference.
Yeah.
So he still goes on Greatest Hits Radio. The joy of my life. You've not found it. But he still does his confessions. And I feel like this is a story that there are certain people. I've never told this to certain people.
Is this
But is anyone watching this?
I hope at least my mum will be watching later on, if that's all okay. Yeah. But is this an exclusive?
It's a little bit of an exclusive. 1 or 2 people know this. But basically, we used to run a big youth event in Council called Innovate.
Innovate, I remember.
And it basically, we kind of took over the church and made it into a nightclub, effectively. We had like drama, we had dance, we had bands. We had crazy games. It was a little bit like Ant and Dec Saturday Night Takeaway before Ant and Dec Saturday Night.
So you invented Saturday Night Takeaway?
I made Ant and Dec.
Right, you heard it here first.
And so we just played loads of crazy games, loads of participation. And I remember there was one time where we decided, again, before Bush Tucker trials were a thing, to do something similar.
So did you invent Bush Tucker trials as well? Okay, right.
And Strictly Come Dancing.
You invented
that. But we had this crazy game, and we thought, why don't we like eat really disgusting things?
Okay.
That's cool, right?
Yeah.
Make the kids laugh. So instead of getting the kids to eat disgusting things, I was like, that's too much.
Yeah.
I got my youth team to eat disgusting things. So maggots, crickets, that kind of thing.
So really high caliber.
It was high stuff. And so we played this game. I remember having a bowl of maggots, and one of my youth workers, who will remain nameless, but Haley got the chopsticks and the bowl and was like eating, and she ate a significant amount of maggots. I think went outside and was sick, but she was like, and she was there. She was entertaining the crowd, like a couple of hundred young people. She was loving it, and all these maggots, she was eating all these maggots. The night ended. We put the church back together, ready for the church service in the morning, very responsibly.
Yeah.
And we went away. That was it. Great night was had by all. Great hilarity. Lovely eating maggots, crickets.
Yeah.
About maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, the church unfortunately suffered an infestation of blue bottles, and there was several conversations about, where on earth have all these flies come from? I think we're going to have to get some of them. They're just everywhere. And every time we come in, there's more flies. And me being a very responsible kind of leader of the youth team and of the charity, just ran away.
Yeah.
I never said anything to anyone because I was like, I know exactly where those blue bottles have come from. Because the maggots, as well as going in Haley's mouth, had fallen in between the little cracks in the floor and had created the blue bottle infestation. Like, it was horrific. As it's happened more than once, that kind of
What
thing.
do you mean it's happened? We're supposed to learn from these mistakes.
Yeah, there's other things happen. That was my biggest triumph / failure.
So, I mean, I was not expecting that kind of story. So two kind of takeaways from that, really, that I want to talk about. So no one knows about this.
There are a few people, family and some close friends know about it. I'm not sure some of the people who are responsible for the fabric of the church building know that.
Okay. Well, they do now. And secondly, you ran away.
I just dipped. I was like, really?
I mean,
that's terrible. That's terrible.
One would argue, okay, how can they prove that those blue bottles came from your maggots?
No, it's very difficult to prove that.
I mean, I'm no insectarian. Is that a term? I don't know.
Let's go with it.
I don't know what a maggot turns into. I know they turn into
flies.
Yeah, they do turn into flies, and that was a stupid thing to say. But I did, look, you can't prove. I think you've until this confession now, you got off scot-free.
But because it's only your mum watching it,
we should be fine. Just don't tell anyone, Cindy. We should be okay.
I did think about like what lessons it taught.
What lessons did it teach?
Wait, so I had to think about this long and hard.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
What on earth can I pull out for this particular podcast? And I thought sometimes it's about dealing with the maggots before they become flies. Now, I'm not talking about people, because that would be harsh. But sometimes there are things that happen, situations that you come across that are like a little bit, but you just leave them. Because you think, do you know what? If I just leave that alone, nothing bad will happen. But the trouble is, I've learned that over many years of being in a charitable world rather than the business world, lots of similarities. Actually, if you leave some of those little things, they turn into something that is much more difficult to deal with long term.
So that is, to be fair, a great business lesson. So what was the saying you said? 'Cause I'm just going to use it for a new chapter in my new book. So what was it called? Sorry.
So deal with the maggots so you don't have to deal with the blue bottles.
I think it was slightly different the first time around. I think so. I like that though. I like that. Yeah, and
watch it back.
We'll edit it all in. That's a great lesson. So although you said that it happened several times, so
you're not the exact same thing, but something similar.
Wow, great lesson. Have you got any other stories to share? Have you?
I guess that there was then the story of the photocopier toner.
Okay.
So I was in the office that I shared with someone else at the time.
Yeah.
And that this person wasn't in. And next to my office was a charity shop.
Oh, I know exactly the office you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. So the toner ran out on the photocopier. Mm-hmm. The other lady who worked in the office who would normally deal with those things wasn't in, but I needed this photocopy obviously urgently. And so I thought, it's fine. I can change the toner. So I found the new toner cartridge. It was back in the old days when toners were in like tube.
Yes, yeah.
And I opened the photocopier and thought, oh, that's the toner. Pulled it out, but pulled it out a little bit too ferociously, and the whole thing dropped to the floor and up sprung this plume of black dust. And I was like,
oh no.
So
were you covered?
No, I was okay.
Oh, okay.
I was okay. But I sort of tidied up best I could.
Oh, so you didn't run away from this situation like the blue bottles?
Not yet.
Oh.
And so the whole thing, it was all cleared up. It was all fine. Put the new toner in, seemed to work.
Yeah.
Following day, I went in and some of the volunteers in the charity shop said, oh, goodness me. Everything seems to be covered in a layer of black dust. I wonder where this could have come from. And they were going, I think, and they were going, it must be the roadworks outside. And I was going, yeah. it's outside. So I was like, I don't know what to, and very few people know this. I could be signing my own.
You are in trouble.
Yeah. And I think my lesson for that.
Yeah, what's the business lesson?
Always leave like specialist jobs like that, because that's a specialist job to people who know what
to
they
be
do.
experts.
Don't try and do it yourself. Leave it to someone. Don't try and produce a podcast like this don't do it yourself. Leave it to producer Molly.
Producer Molly, you listen to this. Always leave it to producer Molly. So what we've learned so far, Matt, right? So this is great, and this is doing really well for your reputation.
Yeah, I think so.
We shouldn't let you run bush tucker trials in any facility, whether it's a church facility or don't do it. And then secondly, don't trust you to change ink cartridges.
No, and I have to say, my role in Grace, I've done neither of those two things.
You've learned from your mistakes.
I've learned from my mistakes. So if people were thinking at the start of this podcast, I'm going to get in touch with Matt because I'm interested in what he's saying, and then have gone, no way. Well, I've learned my lessons. Please do get in touch.
One would argue that because you are so good at what you do and you've invested so much time and effort in being a great youth worker and a great youth leader, you've not had time to practice how to change ink cartridges or how to sweep up maggots. No. So like, you're not a generalist, you're a specialist.
Yes.
So I'm now going to spin this and back you up a little bit. But
I appreciate that.
Molly, do we have time for another story or do we need to wrap up here?
All good.
We're all okay. But have we got, what stories did I write down earlier? Let's have a little look at there's two on here. Definitely, I don't think we can discuss these with you.
Are they inappropriate?
Very inappropriate. No, one is very inappropriate. One should not have happened. One is a mistake that I make. I'm going to tell you, this is a story of mine, the ice cream eating. Actually worked in my favour. Now, of course, for you, viewer, we do want to hear your stories as well. You can always remain anonymous. If you've had any mishaps, any failings, any dilemmas, have you ever released, an insect infestation upon a facility? Have you ever exploded an ink cartridge in an office and just ran away and just, shrugged your shoulders and didn't even bother to talk about it? Please do let us know. Send in an email to how I failed in business at gmail.com. That's how I failed in business at gmail.com. Or send us a message somewhere on this platform. So I'm going to tell you my ice cream eating story.
Good.
Okay. So it's probably nowhere near anything like yours, and actually turns out to be a great sales story. So when I first set up the business, which is now nearly 6 years ago, can you believe?
Wow.
Obviously very young. I was younger than I am now, hungry, full of desire, wanted to really impress. And I, very active on LinkedIn. And at the time, I don't know if you've ever seen. Yeah, I've got 2 followers, so it's growing. Yeah,
I'm one of them.
Thanks. And the other one's my mum. Very active on LinkedIn. And at the time, one of my clients was an ice cream brand, really lovely ice cream. That's why I put on so much weight at the time, because I ate all the profits. And I remember putting a post out on LinkedIn now pretty much about the ice cream. And there was different conversations going on underneath the post. And one gentleman in particular commented on someone else's comment. Okay. Now, I read that comment. What his comment was fantastic. Would love to catch up. Haven't seen you in a while. Pop into the offices on Thursday. Okay. So I have read that as a message to me.
Of course.
So I've turned up, young, I was going to say aggressive, hungry, full of desire, whippersnapper of a salesman. I get to go into these great big offices in Leicester City Centre, in some great renowned offices. I'll pop in. So turn up with my little ice cream samples. I was like, Mark, his name is Mark. Great to see you, Rob. You told me to come in on Thursday. And the look of like blood loss on his face. Put simply, what happened was he was commenting on my post to someone else.
Yeah.
To say, Jenny, I've not seen you in a while. Pop into the offices on Thursday. I've misunderstood what is going on. And I've just turned up. Luckily, Mark found the whole situation hilarious. He had some ice cream samples from me. We're still good mates to this day.
Did you get a sale?
No.
No.
But no, I didn't. But we're still good friends, and that, in my opinion, sometimes friendship is more important than a sale there and then. Have you ever had any like mishaps where you've turned up at the wrong office or the wrong person?
Yeah, I think I'm directionally challenged. I do have a little bit of a problem with directions.
Oh, okay.
So I have turned up somewhere and my sat nav has taken me there, and I've turned up and gone, not the right place.
No.
Fortunately, they've always been fairly close to each other.
Oh,
but
okay.
I do struggle with my directions
No.
from time to time.
Oh, but when you started off with the directionally challenge, I thought you meant height-wise.
No, I mean that also.
Oh, okay. That's
yeah,
fine.
but I'm over that, or at least I was.
Well, you can't get any far under it, can you? So,
to be fair.
before I start hurling more abuse at you, I apologise. Look, I'd love for the viewers today to reach out to you, to connect with you.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing within the Grace Foundation is fantastic. The Grace Foundation have become our networking events charity of the year, which I'm thrilled to say. And how we normally roll, because we don't like change, is probably going to extend into more than a year anyway. So I'd love for the viewer to continue their conversation with you. How's best for them to contact you?
So do have a look at our website, Grace Foundation. Google it, TikTok it, depending on what generation you're in.
That was two extremes there. Google or TikTok. There was
nothing in between. But best thing to do, if you want to connect with me, Matt Brown at grace-foundation.org.uk. So Matt Brown, 2 T's at grace-foundation.org.uk. It'll probably appear on your screen, sort of here. So that's probably the best way. So do get in touch. You know, I can tell you more about the vision, more about what we want to do in Leicester, and we can take it from there.
Perfect. Matt, thanks so much for today. We could probably spend hours talking about old stories, talking about the big cycle challenges we used to do for reality back in the day, but they're probably for another day. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. And thank you to you, the viewer, for watching. Please do stay tuned. What I want you to do right now, stop what you're doing, look at the screen, hit the subscribe button. We'd love you to stay connected. The more subscribers we get, the more budget we can get, which means the better kit we can get, and the more your whole viewing experience will get better. So hit that subscribe. Stay tuned for more great guests coming on. It's going to be hard to top you, Matt. I'll be honest.
Thanks.
But we'll get some more top guests on. And until next time, all the best.
Thank you for listening. No. That was the How I Failed in Business podcast.
What was it?
Podcast. It was the How I Failed in Business podcast.
It was, with the perfect failure of how to do an outro. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Make sure you share it with your friends and your colleagues.
Absolutely. Share it with your boss.
Share it with your boss. Let him know that it's okay that he spilled coffee on his t-shirt this morning.
Yes.
It helped him somehow in business.
Exactly. There's always a lesson somewhere.
Yeah. Leave us a review. Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
Nice. Yeah, leave a comment as well.
Yeah. Remember, we do have an audio version of this podcast as well available on YouTube. So make sure you check that out. See our beautiful faces.
Well, my beautiful face.
Okay. And that rounds us out. Thank you for listening, and make sure you grab the next one.